Hey everyone, today we welcome Lenny Marano, President of the Americas at Lectra. We will discuss Industry 4.0. Welcome, Lenny. Hi, Lenny. It's so great to have you.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to What Just Happened. So let's get into the importance of sustainability. Lectra, Gerber Technologies, the portfolio. I mean, this is not just a nice to have, this is a must have. Let's hear some of your opening thoughts on that.
It's interesting, Christine. Sustainability is a native part of what we do. And now when we talk to customers, it's evolved from socially conscious to sustainability equals profitability to consumers command it. I've been in this industry now going back to 2014. And when I started in 2014, our customers across all the segments that we serve, whether it's apparel, furniture, automotive, everybody used to talk about sustainability because it was the socially conscious thing to talk about. And then, it really migrated into, boy, everything that I do that's sustainable impacts my P&L, and sustainability really impacts profitability. And when I look at Lectra, sustainability is just a native part of what we do, and the solutions that we provide really lead to a sustainable ecosystem because you're reducing material waste, you're reducing labor, you're reducing electrical footprint of production, you're making sure that data is passed with that value stream in an efficient way so that there's just less waste. We help customers plan better so they're not producing product that won't sell and they have to destroy it or write it down. Companies now are focused on not just a sustainable process, but producing a sustainable product that's going to last.
I like to say sustainability starts in the cutting room floor.
Being able to leverage tools that are now all evolved into the cloud to make sure that you're maximizing the usage of your material and eliminating waste, but also labor reduction. Some of the most impactful sustainable initiatives in the cut room is around waste reduction. I believe it actually starts on the planning process, right? It's making sure that you're planning your inventory right in a way that your product is going to sell. So analyzing what the sales is like at retail, understanding what your assortment is and making sure that you have the right assortment, making sure that your pricing is in line with the competition.
I like to think that your industry has been at this a lot longer than the media has been buzzing about it. Okay, so it's definitely top of mind. We're experiencing it climate-wise, but with the shift in buying power to a different generation, the voices are louder. And I would say that's fairly much shorter time period than the length of time you guys have been at the business of sustainability and innovation. So let's talk for a second about innovation in what you do in fashion, automotive, and furniture. And first, how do you expect that to evolve? Because if you're not innovating, you're not surviving. And how does it fit into these macroeconomic times that we have ahead of us?
No, so that's a great question. And first of all, you're right. Actually, at the end of this year, Lectra is going to celebrate our 50th anniversary as a company, which we're very proud of. Also, when you look at Lectra, we spend over $50 million a year in R&D, which is about 12% of revenue, which is really kind of best in class for a technology company. So innovation is inherent to our nature, and our focus over really the last 6-7 years has been around Industry 4.0 innovation. How do we leverage the cloud, big data, IoT to go and drive efficiency throughout the production process? In 2021, in June, with the acquisition of Gerber.
I mean, as you said, this is not new to you as an entity, and continue to be dedicated to innovation, because innovation is sort of the rudder that cuts through all of the chaos kind of on either side of that.
It is. And, economies are cyclical, right? And in our 50-year history, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs, but we've always continued the investment in innovation in R&D, because when things settle, we want to make sure that we have the solutions to help our customers move their business forward. We want to make sure that we're the first choice of our customer base. We're continuing to move the needle up. And in some cases, even during recessions, we accelerate our investment because we know that when things pop up, people are going to be ready to go make the moves and do things a little bit differently.
I've always said that the ones who invest the most during the worst period always come out ahead.
Yeah. So it's interesting. In 2020, when everything hit, everything kind of shut down. We heard a lot of our customers talking about ways to reset their business, and even going into 2020, particularly on the apparel side, there was a lot of over inventory, a lot of write downs, a lot of apparel being destroyed because it wouldn't sell. It was just a very, very unsustainable model. And then when stores and retail shut down and you have hundreds of millions of dollars of inventory sitting on shelves that's not moving, everybody's going, okay, when we come out of this, we're going to do things a little bit differently. And hearing that from our customer base on both the brand, retail, and manufacturing side, we knew that we needed to continue our investment in Industry 4.0 solutions, because when they come out of it, and they were ready to do things differently, we wanted to be ready for it. Some customers really did say, hey, you know what, we are going to do things differently, and we're going to use the tools. We're going to invest in the 4.0 technology around PLM, PIN. We're going to invest in competitive intelligence tools to make sure that on the front side of our process, we're doing things efficiently, so we don't go back to where we were 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
What does winning look like? I mean, are we seeing empty landfills? Is it as big as that? Or is it your EPS goes up? I mean, and maybe it's all of the above.
I think, for me, winning is getting product to a consumer that they recognize the value in a sustainable way that is profitable for those throughout the value chain. And I think that's important. When you have unsustainable business practices that impact your bottom line, and you're wasteful, or you're selling things at a discount in a way that's not profitable, you're not gonna be around very long.
On demand is more profitable, much more profitable for the retailer. So it's a good space to be in. Scalability, they can't do it without partnering with a company like yours.
Manufacturers and designers are going to need to have on-demand solutions. So when you look at our on-demand platform, which applies to both the fashion and the furniture market, it enables that one-off production in a way that allows you to leverage data from the consumer ordering process through the design, the market planning process, into the cut room, and get that product back to the consumer in a time frame that they expect, at a price that they can afford, and in a way that's profitable for the manufacturer. Delivering a product to the consumer that adds value in a sustainable way that is profitable for those in the value chain, to me, is winning.
I think that's very exciting to me, because it's, first of all, it has bigger picture woven into that as an objective, and also every piece of the ecosystem wins along the way.
Absolutely.
So we just finished a big retail event, and are you seeing a fair amount of seriousness around these objectives?
Oh, absolutely. I think you said it earlier, Christine. Sustainability and these initiatives, they're must-haves now for these companies to succeed. We do see a lot of seriousness, around. There's both looking to do things for the first time. You wouldn't believe how many as we have are emailing Excel sheets back and forth still to manage their supply and planning cycles, or sending a lot of people out to stores looking at price tags when so much is available that's much more automated and efficient. So we do see a lot of seriousness around it, for sure.
The effect of cloud-based PLMs is there's a lot of CO2 savings. So you've cut down on travel, you cut down on samples. These are the not forward-facing sustainability accomplishments. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
As Lectra, as a publicly traded company on the Euronext exchange out of Paris, we have strict CSR reporting guidelines now that we have to report on. And it's really evolved from kind of being a much more financially focused report to saying, okay, what are you doing, drive down CO2 savings, not just within your business, but within the product offering that you bring to customers? How do you further enable that? As an organization, we're very well prepared for that, because sustainability and waste reduction has been part of our value proposition and our product offerings for a long time. Going back to your comment on PLM and kind of the CO2 savings, having a cloud-based PLM enables interconnectivity throughout the process. and it's kind of the central version of the truth that connects your ecom order to your ERP, goes through PLM, but then also that's going to feed your design cycle, right? That's going to feed your design side, and having that CAD and PLM integration is important, and CAD to 2D and 3D integration as well.
Process management is definitely there's a savings to that, and then you can argue there's sustainability benefits from that. Let's just, this may or may not make it into the conversation, but aren't you shocked at how few people are actually, how much, well, it's a good thing. Aren't you excited about how much opportunity there is for you to get people into cloud-based PLM?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big opportunity because, like I said, we have the competition of Excel, but we also have people that have been using legacy systems that are a little bit more complex. They're harder to use. They're not as robust, and migrating them over to the latest generation also presents a huge opportunity for us.
Do you find it hard that people hate to pull that Excel needle out, that they're just like, it's like, I can't give up my Excel. It's you're like, you're passy.
It's absolutely, but we see the emotional aspect of migrating from perpetual to cloud-based systems in a lot of areas of our business, and not just PLM, but even on the marker making side. We have industry 4.0 solutions now where you leverage not just the algorithms, but the power of cloud computing to run a lot of different strategies on how you make your marker and how you're nesting those parts closer and closer together to get you really an unprecedented level of material savings. And going from, hey, I have a dongle on my PC where I use this software that sits on my desktop, to leveraging it in the cloud, it's harder for people to adopt. But what's really helped mitigate that is the ROI. Having solutions in the cloud and leveraging that power of IoT really makes it an easier conversation to have and encourages people to migrate in a more accelerated way.
Do you want to chat a little bit about furniture and automotive? I'd love to. It's very interesting to hear that you service all three industries.
On the furniture side, there's a lot of trends on the retail side that very much mimic what we see, in the apparel space. Higher quality, less turnover of the actual product itself, moving into on-demand, more customized orders. On the automotive side, what's cool about automotive is that they're always early adopters. And with Lectra's Industry 4.0 initiatives, the first ones, a lot of it was focused on automotive and getting like the automotive cut room up to Industry 4.0 standards, because they do it in so many other areas of their operation, and giving them the tools, which are all migrating to cloud-based as well, giving them the efficiency on the production floor to be able to scale their production. Our automotive customers, a lot of the things that we talked about in apparel and in furniture still apply, right? From a sustainability standpoint, in the cut room, it's waste reduction, it's labor reduction. And, a few years ago, we had launched a new product, particularly for automotive. It's called the IP9, which, combined with cloud-based marker making, gives you the ability to really nest your parts a lot closer together, cut them much more effectively, and it's a significant material savings. And what our automotive customers have done is use that as a competitive differentiator for themselves when they go and quote to the OEM. So if somebody's looking to do a job for Toyota or Ford or General Motors, and they say, look, because of this new Industry 4.0 smart technology, I could produce your car seats or your dashboards or your liners using less material and save you 1-2% on the cost compared to the competitors, it's actually worked out in our favor. And a lot of similar thinking across all three industries that we serve, with automotive being a little bit more of an early adopter.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But that must be very applicable to furniture as well. I mean, there's a lot of cutting and making everything fit. So do you see that? Well, is that particular machine available in furniture, or that, what do you call it?
No, the machine that we sell in furniture for that type of application is a little bit different, because there's a higher mix of product in furniture, particularly as things go to on demand. So, if you're Toyota, right, you're going to make, however many thousands of Highlanders, right? You're going to need a lot of car seats, kind of using maybe 3 or 4 different upholsteries. Where on a furniture side, if you go into, if you go into a furniture store, you see the wall of like a million different fabrics, a million different pillows. So the dynamics of the mix of production are a little bit different on furniture. What we sell primarily into furniture are, we call it lower ply, which is, instead of cutting 100 layers of material, you cut 20 because that's really what your product mix deserves.
Mhm.
Or we see even just cutting one layer at a time, but doing it in a fashion efficient way for on-demand production with a minimum order quantity of one, as customers come into retail and pick from the wide assortment that's available.
Right. Interesting. What about just walk me through how do you do that for apparel? Is it a much bigger cutting? It must be huge compared to
Well,
that.
it depends, right? What's cool is we have a portfolio that allows for both mass production and on-demand production. It really depends on the workflow and how the customer is positioning themselves in the market.
That flexibility is incredible. Is that industry standard or is that special to you guys?
That's special to us to be able to have that wide range of portfolio. And what's really interesting is that we see a lot of customers kind of putting them side by side now, and customers that traditionally were in the mass production space are trying to carve out areas, say, hey, you know what? I've normally done mass production, but I think I have this niche to where I can go a little bit more on demand, or I know my customer is buying, customized products or products more tailored from a competitor. How do I get my business in that space? Here's actually one thing that's pretty interesting that we see. We see it from big brands. And you talk about the correlation of the different markets that we serve between apparel, furniture, and automotive. In automotive, there was a trend maybe going back over the last 5 or 6 years where the big automotive OEMs, these are big companies, right? Billions and billions of dollars in sales. With a company that big, you get a lot of red tape when you're trying to start something new. So they'll start like incubators, almost spin them off as a separate business, keep them small, keep them nimble, keep them flexible, and allow them to do things a little bit more differently. And what we've seen really over the last 3 years is that apparel is kind of taking that model too. You have really big apparel companies that are billions of dollars in sales, kind of encumbered in their traditional way of thinking. How do they break apart from that and accelerate how to do things on demand? And a lot of them have broken off and started their own incubators or funded startup ventures to say, okay, as we look to do things differently, we know we can't do it within the confines of our own building here. We're going to go fund somebody to go and do it. So it's been an interesting correlation between the two industries on how do you accelerate new ways of thinking, new ways of production, and just doing things differently.
Very interesting. Now, since Lectra is a compilation of different pieces of this puzzle, right? Different aspects of it, and many pieces of those have been around for a while, have evolved, and it's commoditized to a degree. There's a lot out there as an option. So we already identified one of your differentials. Obviously, service and price and the whole holistic package of what, let's say, one company offers over the other. How do you stay competitive?
It's really about value, right? And our value proposition of integrated solutions throughout the whole value stream, like I said, from planning through competitive intelligence, through design and production, it does stand out in the marketplace. But in providing the customers value, one of the things that really makes us different is how we work with a customer to maximize that value, right? We don't just we're not a point solution provider, go sell a machine and then we're done, right? When you look at the Americas team, we have over 200 people in the Americas dedicated to customer success. That's call center support, field support, that's professional services to make sure that when we implement it, we're implementing it in a way that's going to get you up and running and generating that ROI and getting the efficiency that you expected when you bought that product. That's a major differentiator for us. But within that customer success team, and I'm going to go back to this Industry 4.0 umbrella that's over everything we do. Since 2007, all of our machines have been connected to the internet, right? We were a very early adopter of kind of leveraging IoT and Industry 4.0 for serviceability, predictive analytics. These are capital equipment machines, are complex. stuff happens, but leveraging our cloud service resources, leveraging the data that we get from those machines, we're able to predict when something may go wrong before it even does. And we have many stories of customers saying, "Hey, I just got a part that showed up on my doorstep. What's this for?" "Oh, well, through our analytics and our service dashboards, we saw that something was a little bit out of whack from a telemetry standpoint, and we think this part needs to be replaced, so we shipped it to you before there was even a failure." So it's things like that, and that continued investment in innovation to further enable those differentiators that helps us stand out.
Well, I want to thank you. It's an entire industry and ecosystem built on innovation.
it, it's built on innovation, and I look at what we do, and when I talk to people about it, we're behind the scenes of stuff that you interact with hundreds of times a day, right? Whether it's the clothes you're wearing, the seats on your car, the couch that you sit on, we're behind it. And I think that's what makes us a cool part of the industries that we serve.
I have this opinion that Intel was really smart when they put the little sticker Intel inside on
Right.
laptops.
Yeah.
I meet technology such as yours that is the back of everyday items and making a difference. And I like to think that there's some way for a customer to make a purchasing decision based on the backbone. So I think there's a value. People bought Dell part of the reason because, oh, this Intel is inside. That must be important. But to think that I could buy a sofa that had your companies involved in it, so I know not just I like how it feels and the quality is great, but there are so many other values to that. Everybody wins if you're working with partners that are really committed to innovation and making a difference and have sustainability at their core. Why not share that with the world? It can be popped on on an e-com site. It can be a little thing like the Intel thing, kind of either on the hang tag or whatever. People want to know. As we started this conversation, the buying power, the ones with the wallets, they want this information. It's almost like why wouldn't you put it out there?
Well, it's traceability, right? It's really all about traceability, and while the consumer itself may not recognize Lectra as a brand name, we talked about over half of the market wanting to purchase sustainable products, and actually at the end of last year, Lectra acquired a company called Textile Genesis that leverages Industry 4.0 to put a traceability tag really from like the cotton fields to the consumer of how that product was sourced, produced, um, and ultimately gets to the shelves. And that's I think the next evolution. So while Electra may not be the brand recognizable to the consumer, I think you're gonna see consumers commanding to know what our data is and how a product came to be produced throughout the ecosystem that we've created.
Well, they don't know because they're not told. They know what they're told. People want to know. And I think conscious partnerships, business partnerships are becoming more and more important and need to be visible as part of that purchase decision making process.
Completely agree, and I think that's just the way industries and consumers are evolving, right? And the more data that becomes available, the more that people are going to command to see it and understand it. We want to enable the brands that we work with to go out to consumers and market in a way that shows that they're sustainable, that they're using our solutions to produce sustainably and produce a quality product. And there's a lot of talk about near shoring and reshoring. We see a little bit of reshoring to the US, but really we see near shoring. And a lot of our customers, and this goes throughout all the industries that we serve, with some of the trade dynamics, political uncertainty in certain parts of the world, we see that when they look to increase capacity, they may not necessarily be doing it out east where they would have 5 or 10 years ago. And they're taking that investment and they're putting it in some in the US, but Mexico, Central America in particular.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity and should be big. It should be huge. And
And
I
it's
think,
real. Like we're seeing it. It's not just talk anymore. Our business is seeing it.
yeah, well, that's great. That's great for everyone. Everybody wins.
Absolutely.
Well, Lenny, I want to thank you for walking us through Industry 4.0, the companies that are part of Lectra, and how they all fit into this evolution of industrialization.
It's the fourth industrial revolution. I really enjoyed our conversation. Had some fun. Thank you very much, Christine.
Well, it's a pleasure.